All right, folks, how you doing? Russell, TrueResults303.com. Check out the website, link in the description box, Mind, Body, Spirit, Fitness. Put in the healing back in health. Check out the website, get your free download on setting goals, fitness goals, health goals, get you back on track, doing the right thing, getting your body, your mind right. There's also a free download on nutrition. Check that out, kind of give you some basics on what you need to do, what you might need to adjust to get you on track. Follow on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Google+. The podcast is out there. Links down below. Coming at you today with the structure of family. What should the structure of your family look like? And there's a couple different ways to approach this. And of course, when I do this, people, if you've ever watched my channel, it's going to be based a lot out of what some would say would be Christian values, traditional values. And I think sometimes we've got to understand that that's what holds us together, tradition, right? I'm not going to say Christian tradition. You might not be a Christian. You've got to do your own research and your own exploring to see what's going to work, right? But we've got to understand, what was it? Einstein said, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So if you're doing the same thing over and over again, you might want to look towards that Christian point of view. I'm just saying. But there's a big thing that always goes around in Christian churches, or at least my Catholic church in general, or let me take a step back. Have you ever heard the saying, the best way to love your children is by loving their mother, your wife? Right? Have you ever heard that? Have you ever heard that saying? The best way to love your children is to love your wife. All right? So the best way to love your children is to love your wife. And we've got to understand, and I think this is the biggest problem that parents have when their kids leave the home, right? And I think they usually say it happens more with women, maybe. You know, they find their identity. That's the downfall when you don't put God first, right? If you don't put God first, so that's always going to be number one. The parents need to put God first. You need to show that God is number one in everything. Right? There's nothing more important than God. Not even them. Right? They are not more important than God. And I think that's what parents fall victim to when their kids leave the home. They have nowhere to turn to, right? Because that's been their whole life. And when they leave and that's your whole life, then it's bound to go downhill. You know, you have no place to go, especially because your kids might not like you, or they're trying to find themselves. They're not going to be calling. They're not going to want to come around. Even when they reach their teen years, Mom, you're not cool. I don't want to be around you. Dad, you're goofy, right? So if you try to find your identity within those children, that's where you're going to have a downfall. Your identity is not mother, is not father, right? That's kind of that same thing, and I don't think I've ever really found the correct answer when they say, who are you, right? And you'll be like, I'm a mother. No, it's deeper than that, right? Who are you? I'm a wife. No, it's deeper than that. It's almost like there's never a correct answer to that question, right? So same thing. First, you put God first. You don't put your husband first. And it's the same thing. I've heard one of my favorite rappers, D1, say it. I've heard, for those of you might not be conservative, but I heard Mike Pence's wife say it, where she said, Mike Pence's wife said something like, oh, on the first date, you know, I told him, you're my everything. You're my all. And he said, no. God should be. God should be. I should not. I'm an imperfect man. I'm going to hurt you. I'm most likely there's going to be times where you hate me. And if you put me as your pedestal, then unfortunately, you will most likely fall into sin and unfortunate situations, all because you fall into that, oh, well, you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you. So God first. And this is where it comes to the saying in my church anyways. God first, others second, I am third. Right? But we've got to understand, that's where I made a video called Happy Life, the Happy Wife, Happy Life Lie. That's a lie as well, right? But once again, when it comes to that hierarchy, God goes first, then your spouse, then your children, right? Because your children are going to leave the house. It's always going to be you and your spouse till death do us part if you take your vows serious. So you can never neglect your spouse for your children. You've got to understand that your children are going to be third in that hierarchy. It's you, others, I am third. So it's going to be God, husband, children. You need to understand that. God, spouse, children. And I've got a text message that popped up. So that's got to be always your number one thing, because when the kids leave, your spouse is still going to be there, right? Unless there's an unfortunate situation where sorry, I'm getting text messages from my client buddy. Yeah, he's just blowing me up here. That we had our Spartan races this past weekend, so now he's sending me something. But once again, God, wife, husband, children. That needs to be the order. They need to understand, and that's another reason why, unfortunately, maybe our children are not wanting to marry nowadays, right? Because they see that their own parents don't even have that loving relationship. And I know things are hard, and relationships can be difficult. There's times where you're not going to like the person and this and that, but you need to make sure that that's your main priority, because we've got to understand that, I think it's Pope John Paul II, some pope said, as the family goes, so goes society. As the family breaks down, so is society. What is society but one big family? What is a country but a big family? What is your church, your parish, but one big family? And as that family starts to crumble, once again, society is going to follow, because we no longer have that. And I found this out greatly trying to put my trust, and happiness within friendships. And that's the worst thing you can do. That's the worst thing you can do. It's always going to be God. If you want to seriously put it into perspective, it's going to be God. It's going to be your spouse, your children, your family. In my opinion, like your church family is going to be involved in that too. And in my personal experience, friendships is at the bottom of that. Your friends are going to leave. My family's never going to leave me. Your family's never going to leave you. You're always going to be invited to that birthday party. They're always going to call you on your birthday. They're your family. Your parents, your cousins. Those is where that, like, friendships, that's gonna be last on that totem pole. And that's what's gonna create that. You need to show your children how that hierarchy goes, and things are gonna fall into place. That same concept of, if everybody likes you, then something's not right? If nobody ever said a bad word about you in your life, and everybody says that you're the greatest person on earth, you're doing something wrong. You're probably the fakest person on this earth. To tell you the truth, if everybody likes you, you're the fakest person on this earth. And in reality, it's not your kids' friends. It's not your kids. It's not your job as a parent to have your kids like you. It's not what it's about. You're supposed to be raising productive children within the society. Godly people within this, if you're a Christian, within the society. Your children should be your friends when they're in their mid-20s. Other than that, they should not like you. They should like you, but they should respect you more. They should have an understanding. There's an understanding here, right? That hierarchy. That's how it goes. So I'm sure there's a lot more I could be putting into this, but just something to think about there. Once again, please comment. What do you have? What things have you heard of? I hate to say it too. There used to be a show on MTV called The World's Strictest Parents, right? And I've never seen, any updates on any of those. But I know those parents that were strict, sometimes it can backfire, but those parents that were strict and then they brought the troubled child into that environment, those children in the long run were better off, right? We're better off. There's a time to love and there's a time to discipline, right? There's a time to love and there's a time to discipline. And you need to understand that fine line of when to love and when to discipline. And in all honesty, I can say, a majority of children of adults my age, 20, mid-20s to mid-30s, you got to understand, I think the greatest thing, I'm from a broken home. So first of all, I needed a father figure in my life, right? Second of all, I needed more discipline. And unfortunately, sometimes the women, they're so loving, and it's difficult for them to play both roles. You know, and in playing both roles, they themselves might kind of lose their own femininity and the beauty which God has blessed them with, because they have to play that masculine role. So unfortunately, they might lose some of their femininity. And we don't want that to happen to our women. So I needed a father figure in my life, and I needed more discipline. You needed more discipline, right? And that's finding that fine line of discipline and love as a father, even as a mother. You need to find that fine line. But we can't let these women out here having to do it all on their own. That is unacceptable for us men. So that's long. Went a little long there. Hopefully it's valuable information that's going to help you, give you food for thought. And, you know, I hope this helps anybody. Even if you're in your teens watching this, I hope this helps you to understand that what society needs, what God expects, what society should expect of you. So once again, I hope this helps. Don't forget to follow on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Google+. The podcast is out there. Subscribe to this channel. Share and like these videos.